Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm enzea and this is a build guide for my dream desk setup. I'm going to walk you through all of the things that you need and the steps you need to take so you can build the desk you see behind me. Firstly though, I want to give a massive thanks to all the people that watched my first video and hit the like button, subscribed, and left such awesome comments. Hopefully this video answers some of those questions, but stick around to the end and I'll answer as many as I can. If you haven't seen that video, a link should be popping up now somewhere at the top of the screen so you can get an idea of what we're going to try and build. All right, let's get into it. Okay, first off, here's a list of everything we're going to need. There's links under the video to get you straight to them. An IKEA kitchen worktop. This one's called the Colby. It's 246 centimeters long, but we'll cut it down later. An IKEA desk, this one's called the Lindemann desk, and it's 2 meters wide. 4 IKEA capita brackets to hold up the monitor stand. Something to put your worktops on. They don't sell the ones I bought years ago, but the Alex units look like a good alternative. The star of the show, 2 fake plant walls. Some basic acoustic foam. Some cheap LED strips from Amazon. The ones I got are by Govee. A few cable management bits from IKEA, a couple of smart plugs, and lastly a standard handsaw, hammer and a drill. I know what you're thinking. Eesh, that's kind of expensive. And you're right. But in my case, I already had the desk units and also the Lindemann desk. And if you don't want a plant wall, well, that's a ton of cash saved. And just to put it into context, the only semi-affordable music production desk out there is the Output desk. And it's a great desk, but you'll struggle to put 2 monitors and your speakers on top and still have space for a laptop or an iMac or whatever it is you have. Plus, it's actually probably harder to put together than this desk. Okay, so here's the plan. I tried to do a fancy 3D model to show the measurements of everything, but it went all kinds of wrong. So here's a more basic drawing. The IKEA worktop is far too long, so we'll need to cut this down. Seeing as the fake plant squares are 1 meter by 1 meter each, I decided to make the desk exactly 2 meters long. That leaves some leftovers which can be made into shelves at a later date. My original desk, the IKEA Lindemann one, was far too deep to act as a monitor stand. You may want to set your own depth here based on what speakers you intend on having on them and the size of your room, but I put my Adam TV7s on the desk and decided on a depth of about 35 centimeters. The idea of having these 2 desks is to offset them, so you get more table space for your keyboard and whatever peripherals you have. Here's the measurements for placing the capita brackets and how far back the monitor stand goes. Now this is something you don't necessarily have to do, but I recommend it. If you want to go all out, give the room a fresh lick of paint.
Great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies.
I just moved in, so I kinda needed to do it anyway. And what's with people painting everything in magnolia? I chose your standard white for the bulk of the room and settled on a licorice colour for the feature wall. I thought this would look good against the green plants and give a contrast to the white walls. Now it's time to get to work. Start off by measuring and marking the line that you want to cut. Don't worry if you don't have any DIY skills. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. As a result, the cut was all wobbly, but it didn't matter because this side would be facing the wall. Something I didn't know about the Lindemann desk is that the insides are basically made out of a cardboard honeycomb structure. Thankfully, it made it super easy to saw by hand. It must be why they're so cheap. I didn't get a shot of me cutting the Colby top, but it was exactly the same process. Just measure and cut. However, this took a little bit more time as the worktop is actually made of wood. As you can see, there's the cardboard centre I was just talking about on the Lindemann. And there's the 2 offcuts from the Colby that we'll be using for shelves. So this is probably the most difficult part of the whole build. Attaching the capita bracket so we can raise the monitor stand up. Something I didn't account for was the length of the bolts that go through the desk. With the desktop units underneath, you'll need to drill through the desk and then into the cabinet. This really isn't so bad as it really stops the desk from moving around when it's on top. Just make sure you mark up your drill holes with a pencil and go at it. The capita brackets then screw onto the bolts and are super sturdy. But you're going to want to take them off afterwards and use them to mark out where you're going to screw them into the liniment desk. Remember, if you want a bit more space on your desk, set the two center brackets back a bit. But keep the ones at the end directly under your speakers so they take the majority of the weight. I gotta admit, I messed this up a few times, but a bit of trial and error got us there in the end. Next up, it's time to put up the plant wall. I had all sorts of ideas about creating a frame and was actually really worried about how I'd attach it to the wall. Turns out it was so easy. The fake plants are all attached to a plastic mesh. It was just a case of lining up the edge of the plant wall to the edge of the desk, banging a few nails in to hold it up. They're not overly heavy, but heavy enough that if you slide your acoustic foam underneath, the weight of the plant wall just holds it in place. Now, what's a studio without a little bit of LED lighting? It's just so cheap and has such a great effect. The strip that went underneath the monitor stand is stuck on and so far hasn't fallen off. The lighting around the edge of the plant wall is just draped across. The thickness of the plant wall and foam is just enough to balance it on top. I didn't know when I got them, but it turns out these can be switched to reactor sound.
Boom.
Often overlooked, but crucial if you want a tidy setup, is cable management. I didn't think too much about it, to be honest, just because it's kind of boring. So I just screwed a couple of cable management thingy-majigs to the underside of the desk. Oh yeah, and there's also the tube things that tidy up the wires going from the desk to the monitor stand. A few people have asked me about this, so I'll quickly cover it. After seeing how expensive softboxes are and knowing that I wanted to shoot a few videos, I came across a few guides on YouTube detailing how to make the cake pan light and thought I'd have a go. You just need a cake pan and then some daylight white LEDs to fix to the inside. Very important that it's the daylight white LEDs and not the warm white ones. After haphazardly attaching some diffusion cloth, I had my own studio light for a fraction of the price. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I haven't really changed much since I set it up, apart from a few new plants around the place. But how cool is this one? Let's just answer a few of the comments from the last video. Alright, so DJ Jufro says, "Hi, great video. What foam panels do you use?" These are just like the cheapest foam panels that you can get. I don't think it's really worth going all out on acoustic panels unless you're doing it properly and spending a ton of money. So just pick up whatever cheap ones. I've put a link in the description as to where I got mine. Vesky says, "Hey man, have the cut on the liniment table affected its performance? I've seen they're not so thick, so I'm worried about doing a shelf with it just by cutting it. Did you seal the cut or did you leave it raw?" No, I left it raw and it doesn't seem to have affected the performance of it. I wouldn't go putting something super heavy on top of it, but with the two monitors I've got on there at the moment, I haven't seen any warping at all. And I didn't seal the back either because it's sort of facing towards the wall. Chris Merton says, "Hey, I'd love to see a video on how you build the plant wall." Done. I want to steal this idea for my home office and would love a how-to follow along with. Cool, sweet. I think we've done that. Hopefully this helps then. James Hearn says, "You won't see this, but if you do, can I get a link to the plant wall in front of your sound foam? It's in the descriptions down below, my friend." Jamal Pennant says, "Nice setup. Might try making my own desk this way instead of a pre-built unit. Totally, man. You fall in love with it so much more when you build it with your own hands, instead of just putting together a flat pack set. Do it. Jackpot Pete says, dope setup. Thinking about getting the IKEA countertop as a desk too. I'd say it's a pretty wise choice. I spent ages looking for something that was cheaper than the IKEA desk, and I couldn't find anything that was as good a quality and less money. Edward Smith says, what mic do you use to record your audio in your videos? So the microphone I'm using at the moment is one I kind of borrowed from work. It's an AKG 414, but in the previous video I used one of those little Rode microphone Go thingamajigs. Tush Aris the Rail said, really dope video, curious, what software did you use to make your logo, your wallpaper and your Mac? It's so cool. That was Illustrator. Productions of Children, strange name. Instead of putting a leg, I put some angle iron underneath my Colby desk, put 4 underneath, and they are rather around 350 pounds each. Can't really see them unless you look underneath, so looks clean as well. That's an interesting idea. I haven't had any cause for concern so far about reinforcing the desk, because it seems pretty solid, but if I'm worried, I'll keep that in mind. Jay Thomas says, I'm going to move to England just to be taught by you. I don't think there's any planes at the moment, mate. But appreciate it. Natch Fouter says, your plant wall looks dope. My IKEA also has fake plant tiles, but they look very different. Only tiny round leaves around some ivy, but no big sticky plants like the ones you have. Or did you add additional fake plants? No, I didn't add anything onto these. This is why they're kind of expensive, because there's nothing really out there like it. The IKEA ones don't really do the same job. These are really the only decent ones I can find online. Ningstro says, go IKEA. My problem is fitting 2 32-inch monitors and then 8-inch active monitors on each side. Thinking of using separate shelves for the monitors. It's a kind of cool idea. Just as long as you remember to keep your monitors at sort of ear level, then I don't see a problem with that. Abdul says, lovely space. Where can I find the stone light on your desk? Thanks. So this stone lamp thing is a salt lamp, and it's just off Amazon. I love it. If I turn the lights off, it has this real nice glow to it. I've got some more content planned, so hit that subscribe button to get notified when it drops. All right, see you later.